So, hello everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the EMEA Recruitment podcast in partnership with our good friends over at Operation Smile. As my colleague Rose has mentioned, we're delighted to welcome Marco onto the podcast today. So, hopefully you can hear and see me okay, Marco?
Yeah. Very good, Paul. Thank you very much for hosting. Very happy to be here and contribute to your podcast. Very happy.
Well, we're delighted to welcome you onto the podcast. I know it's going to be an interesting discussion. We've got a range of questions for you, some of which have come internally from the guys at EMEA, and then we've had a few even from our shared network on LinkedIn. When people realised you were coming on, they wanted to fire a few of these questions over to you. So hopefully nothing too taxing for you, but it should be an interesting one.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm here to give you my view, my opinion, very candidly, very sincerely, because I think those are valuable experience, and sharing our experience is very important with the guys out there. So that's the approach, and I'm again very happy to provide my experience so that people out there can benefit and get hopefully some good learnings about them.
Excellent. So I guess a question to start with, which will help to ease you into the podcast and start it off in a light-hearted way. I think, as Rose mentioned, our podcast is sponsored by Operation Smile. And so I wondered, with this in mind, if you are able to share what the last thing was that made you smile, Marco.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, I smile every day when I see my children, because I think it's a miracle, but maybe that's something that goes out a little bit about the business world. But, I really like to see young people, making their own way through this complex time, this corporate environment, which has increasingly more difficult. It's a very difficult time. We have COVID. We have to make sure that we actually nurture our talent. And one of the most difficult things that we had in this time is actually welcoming the newcomers. And in COVID is pretty difficult, because imagine yourself entering a new situation, in a new environment with new people, a new company. I mean, during COVID has been extremely difficult. So really what makes me smile is like seeing those people giving everything they have to integrate themselves, trying to do a good job and make sure they are successful within the new organization. That gives me a little bit, of self-reflection of what I did when I was on their place when I entered new organization, and that makes me feel happy, because it's very, very important that we are here with the EMEA Recruitment. We can say recruit the right talent, but at the same time, we welcome them, we host them, and make sure that we give them possibilities for the future. So that's actually what makes me smile and makes me proud if we succeed, but not always easy, especially in those times.
No, I mean, I think you mentioned the times that we're going through at the moment. So just so the listeners are aware, we're recording this podcast at the end of November in 2021. And obviously we've got the Christmas period coming around, but it's been a challenging 20 months or so for everybody. And I mean, I think you mentioned there, you've got children yourself, you have a very demanding job in a company that's fast growing. So, I mean, it must have been challenging for you as well. But I think one of the things that it has maybe force people to evaluate in some ways is where they spend their time, how they prioritize things. I mean, is there anything you've learned, I guess, over this 20-month period that you could pass on to the network in terms of how you've managed to still operate really efficiently and effectively and look after your family as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a very good question, because obviously, even if you are around for a long time, there are always opportunities to learn, and you guys should not stop learning. Just be curious and find new ways to do things. So the thing I learned the most is like, I try to have some time for myself, because in this new environment, you start piling up calls every day. And so I start early on, because our shareholders are Japanese. I start early in the morning, and then I finish up with the other side of planet Earth, like with the Americas late in the evening. And if I don't have time to think, but I'm involved in this routine of talking to people, and don't save time to think and block my agenda, maybe a couple of afternoons, I do actually couple of afternoons a week to think, and I can do things better. What can I do for my team? That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. So what I mean, one of my big learning is like, always you have to do that in life, to keep time for yourself and make sure you achieve a work-life balance. But here I say, I created the expression, you have the work thinking, call, balance, because otherwise you're stuck in a call the whole day and you don't have time to think. I think and I'm talking about every level of every organization, thinking is critical, reflecting and making sure you understand what you have done, capture the learning, and make sure that you apply proficiently in the future is very, very critical for success. So it's, I learned how to organize myself better, because at the end of this pandemic, I was having days that I had only call, and I was not giving the right value to my team. So I learned how to save some time, save some space, and make sure that I dedicate the right time to thinking, which sometimes is not very successful, but no, I'm joking here. I'm joking here. We try to make it as successful as possible. But please, guys, take some time to think. It's very important. That's where new ideas and new ways come out. And innovation is definitely a key word for a successful career in every environment.
No, it's really interesting, because I mean, it's great that you've managed to carve out this time for the thinking time, and for the time with your team and time with family, and so on. And I guess there'd be a lot of people listening who would be quite envious of that situation and say, well, that's okay for Marco to say this, but how do I do this? How do I get to a situation where I manage my time better and have this thinking time or time with the team and do it efficiently? So are there any steps that you took to get to this point? Because it can't have been easy. Was there any particular steps that you took to be able to get to this situation?
Well, yes, and the first one is discipline. Discipline yourself, organize your time, take the key priorities, because I mean, otherwise people bring on your table hundreds of things that might not be value added for the company. So I really need to focus on the right priority. And organization is a key point, communication with the team, because remember, guys, I mean, we are not here alone. I mean, if you want to fight the war yourself, you're not going to be winning that. Really sharing with the team, allocating, empowering the team. I think it's also critical. It's also a critical point in this situation. So I did all of this, making sure you trust your team, and that's why again we come back a little bit to bring the right people on board. It's definitely one of the most difficult but most important thing, because you need again in this kind of situation where you need to try to carve out time for yourself for the thinking. You need to have the right team that supports you, the team that is open to new ideas and new way of working, and then your self-discipline organization to make sure that you really save some time for thinking, but also for your family, because we are running through some enterprise risk assessment like every year, and one of the key topic is definitely the work-life balance that is coming out. The fatigue, maybe in our company at Hitachi Energy, because obviously we had the carve out last year from ABB, create a completely new company from I wouldn't say from scratch, but building the base for the future has been very, very demanding for everybody across the layers of the organization, and probably we missed a little bit on the work-life balance, but we need to go back, because obviously it's not something sustainable, and do it for yourself. Do it for yourself, guys. Make sure you work hard during the time you need to work hard, but at the same time you rest when it's time to rest, because it doesn't work other way. So be disciplined. Make sure you save your time for the thinking, and in my case for your children and the family.
Mm-hmm. It's really great to hear, and it's especially great to see how the impact of this way of thinking and the discipline there has led to the life you've created for yourself now, Marco. And I mean, obviously, before we talk about people, that was something obviously you mentioned in the answer there, and we'll come on to that a bit later on. Maybe something that is also worth exploring is the discipline side, because obviously your background, as Rose mentioned, you come up through the Big Four, the qualified CIA, and now in a great position in the internal head of audit and risk and compliance. So, I mean, firstly, how does it feel to be in your position now? Do you feel as though you've made it?
Yeah, no, thank you, Paul. Obviously, I don't feel that I accomplished everything in my life. Actually, I accepted the role here at Hitachi Energy because I'm curious. As a person, I'm really curious. I want to explore things. I'm fascinated by other people's culture, and getting into this world of different culture. That is our Japanese shareholder is Hitachi. We are called now Hitachi Energy. I think it's a constant learning experience. It's sometimes it's a bit frustrating because maybe it doesn't happen things in the way you would have expect, but at the same time you learn a lot, and you enrich your skills, and as above all, from your personal aspect, you get to know these people, which to me is really, really important and fascinating. So I just don't feel I have accomplished everything in my career. Actually, to me, is a starting point. And don't lose your curiosity, guys. I mean, I think it's important that you still have a curiosity, you still have a willingness to learn new things, because there is always something to learn. And that's a little bit, the secret, well, not the secret, but something that I did in my career. When I changed is because I wanted to learn new things. I wanted to progress. And if I see the step I took in my career, I always took it, or better, the company I was recruiting, I was interviewing with, gave me the opportunity to step up only when I really was ready. And sometimes in the past, when I was let's say younger, I was a bit frustrated because I didn't accomplish things before. But to me, it came a little bit naturally, because when you are ready, when you have the right personal attitude, when you have the right skills, things come naturally. Of course, you need a little bit of luck. That is obviously right, and to be there the right time or the right place. But I realize honestly in my career that things come when you are ready to take new challenges, and it's good, because you don't go in a certain position with the fear to fail, and you feel comfortable, So long story short, Paul, I don't feel accomplished. I have a lot of things to learn. I want to become better aware about the Japanese culture. I want to learn from them, because it's really a fascinating journey what Hitachi Energy is undertaking right now in integrating with the whole Hitachi world, which is huge, which is really huge.
No, there's a bit of a constant theme running through your answers so far, which is really interesting. And it seems it's always about the learning element is something that's consistent, whether it's, we're talking about your time management and prioritizing, or whether it's your career or hiring people. There's always a learning element to it, and to make sure you're still pushing yourself in the right direction. And I think also in the answer you mentioned it about luck and taking opportunities, because I think that's how life is as well, and so I wanted to ask you a question about actually how you started your career, because there's a common phrase that's used, certainly in the recruitment circle, that you don't choose your career chooses you. So was that the case for you? Did you always want to go into finance, or was it one of these lucky meetings that came around and you thought, actually, finance is where I'd like my career to go in the direction of?
Well, I mean, I started working in 1996, and obviously, all the information, the internet was not there. And so me and my colleagues, I mean, when we were getting out of university, we didn't know actually what to expect in full by getting into one company or getting in another company. So I remember that at the time in Italy, the military was compulsory. So I did my military service, and I remember myself at the end of the military service writing hundreds of letters, handwritten, to all the big employer that the university, they gave us a booklet with all the big employers, and I start writing, oh guys, I would like to love with you, I would love working with you, I would like to work for you guys, but really not knowing what to expect. And there was not this clarity about a job in finance or in sales or in other department would look like. So at the time, honestly, I chose, I would love to work this company. No, I wouldn't work for this company. It was more than the factor, rather than, or I would like to work in finance, or I would like to work in sales. So, and then, one of the interview I got was with IBM at the time, was big in Italy. So, it was coming at the time of where computers and, we were getting used to that for working. And everything. So to me, it was fascinating entering into a world. I knew there were a lot of possibility. So I went through like a big selection, and I was one of the lucky guys that actually was selected for working in IBM in Italy. And I was in finance. I was started working in finance, and I honestly did not know to expect. And I said, look, let's see what it brings. And then I discovered that I like it. Then when I wanted to make a new experience, especially more, let's say, in the client relationship, I was lucky enough to get an opportunity as Ernst & Young. So that, that I tried to complete a little bit my skill, because I was doing with finance and audit a little bit about IBM and about internal processes and internal challenges. So I wanted to see what was out there in the market and dealing with the more clients. So that's why the job at Ernst & Young was very appealing to me. So I did a little bit the kind of the reverse cycle, starting in industry, then getting into the Big Four. So coming back to your question, it happened. But then I discovered my passion. I mean, I think that the guys right now, with all the available information that they get through the internet and through all the ways of communication, to the social and everything, can really understand where they would like to work and get the necessary information that can do a more like effective choice where in the terms of industry, in the terms of role, that they are better suitable, or they can have a better success. But at the time, no, there was not very much awareness of what working in finance in IBM could have brought, or working at a Big Four could have brought. But after that, yes. I mean, if I say with the internet has brought up to life a lot of good information, then I made a more conscious decision throughout my career where I would like to work, the environment I would like to work, and also the people I would like to work. Because obviously, when you go through your career, you start understanding a little bit more about people. You start going back to the learning. You learn the different environment and what the people can bring to your career, but also to your personal growth. So I would say at the beginning of my career, less conscious, but definitely after, I kind of pick and choose where I would like to work and the environment I would like to work, to become better skilled, but also to grow as a person, which I think it's really fundamental in the growth part of each professional, I would say.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really interesting, because you mentioned that the finance field and the discipline you're in is something you're very passionate about. It's obvious that you enjoy it. You can tell that in the way you present yourself today, but also, I mean, when we've spoken on the phone in the past, this isn't your podcast voice and enthusiasm. This is actually how you generally are. It's a very passionate, hardworking individual. I mean, where do you think this comes from? Do you think this is something that is in your blood from your parents, or is it something you picked up from a mentor or mentees over the years?
I don't know. I mean, there is things you learn and things you learn less. It's I've been always passionate, but obviously being passionate helps when you do something you like. And that's why it is important I think for the young generation, as they have this whole amount of information available through the web, really choosing something they like, they enjoy, and they feel it contributes to the personal growth. Again, not just career-wise, but also personal-wise, because I don't think that those things are two different things. You grow in your career if you grow as a person. Otherwise you cannot become a good leader. So I think I'm genuinely passionate as a person. When you get into this kind of a company, they do always you have profiling, you go through the assessment, external assessment, and my external assessment tells me that obviously I'm open. I get the energy from people. I get the energy from my team. So it's inherent. Obviously, it comes from the family. I'm Italian. Maybe come a little bit from Italian blood, although I used to say Sicily is 1,300 kilometers from Milan, and Switzerland is 30. So, but still, my blood is Italian, and the passion comes here. But I really think that the passion comes from two things at the end of the day: the person, the people that surround you, and I'm not talking about your managers, but more about your team and the people that works with you on a daily basis, and the objective that you have. That drives my passion personally, and that's why I'm so excited to work for Hitachi Energy, because there is let's say a big project that we need to achieve with different stakeholders, with a different culture, and making sure that you are surrounded by the right people that gives you energy and work with you. It's extremely important. So a little bit inside, but more from the people and the job you are doing. That's where the excitement comes.
No, it's really interesting, and it quite nicely brings us around to the discussion area of people, because I know it's been, again, a bit of a consistent answer to some of the questions, really, the people you're surrounded with, your teams and mentors around you. So, I mean, I think it's something it's obviously a challenge, to find great people and build great teams. So I thought I'd just ask you, as someone who's had a lot of experience in this area, I mean, what steps do you feel are important to take in order to find the best people in the most efficient and effective way?
Well, first of all, get the best recruiter, right? That's the most important step. Get the best recruiter, right? And I'm here with the EMEA, so please, guys, work with EMEA with confidence. But honestly, it's to me, recruiting the right people is the most difficult job that I'm doing. It's extremely difficult because in an hour or maybe an hour and a half, you need to understand whether the person is suitable to work with your team, but not just with you, with all the people that work in the company and your team, and so on and so forth. It's very, very difficult. And to understand the person in 1 hour of the interview, I mean, honestly, guys, can't be done. It's very, very difficult. So that's why I think, and not because I'm here with EMEA, the work that the recruiter does to understand the background, the skills, and what brings the person, what could bring the person to your company is extremely important, right? Because then it allows me to focus on the personal aspect. Obviously, I always say, I can teach technical skill, I cannot teach personality. Because if you read research, after 21, only if there is like a really disruptive event in your life, you change personality, or kind of definitely go through a personality change or change in idea. So it's very difficult to change personality of the people. And by the way, we are not doing the job of parents. We are there to deliver some value to the company, right? So it's important, I think, to focus on the personality, to understand whether the person is a good fit culturally, and as the enthusiasm that Paul, you mentioned the enthusiasm, as the enthusiasm to take new challenge, to come and bring a positive vibe to the team, because it's extremely important. Nonetheless, I have to say, even if you have the best recruiter supporting you and you do a thorough interview, still knowing somebody in an hour is extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. But with the experience, you start recognizing the traits of the personality. You understand your team, understand the personality of your team, and which type of personality you have in your team. That would help you to complement your team with different type personality, or including the right personality in your team. So there is a lot of background work that needs to be done, right? I would say, let the recruiter understand whether the technical skill are the right one, understand your team, and you do together with your team or together with your HR, really an interview focus on the personality and on the value of the person and what the person can bring in terms of enthusiasm and in terms of drive can bring to your team. That would be a little bit what I do, and that would be, I mean, sometimes most of the cases were successful. Sometimes a little bit less successful. But that's the recipe I use to bring the right piece on board.
No, it's really interesting, and I think you're right as well. That the cultural fit and the to the business and the instant team is the key thing really to get right, because some of the technical aspects of most jobs can be learnt over the short to medium term. But if the personality and the fit isn't right, then it's never going to work out for that individual, or the team they're going into is going to cause more issues than solve problems. And I think, obviously everything we've been through in the last 20 months, it's really brought to the forefront of people's minds, what are the values of a business, what do they stand for, do people join and stay within a company? I mean, I guess it is one challenge hiring good people, but the bigger challenge often for a lot of companies is actually retaining great people and keeping them happy. So I was going to ask you also your opinion on that. So the next stage of hiring good people is, once they're in, how do you keep developing them and keep them happy really in the business?
Well, being a successful company helps, because a company that grows open up to new opportunity, open up to new developments, and that's favorable, because obviously good positions are not countless in every company. So then definitely you need to having more opportunities for making the people grow in terms of position. That definitely helps. To create the momentum for the people take the position. So that helps. But at the same time, I think it's critical because people, at least in my experience, do not leave just because they have a better pay or they have a better job. They leave especially because they want to have a better manager. They want to have a manager that takes time and listen to them, that they want to have a manager that actively mentors and provide the experience for them to grow. Again, we come back to the point I made before, not just as a professional but also as a person. So as a manager, I always take time to talk with my people. Sometimes, maybe for 10, 15 minutes, because I do not have the time. But please, it's important for me to take time to talk to them. It's important to take time to understand, also getting their feedback, because having an environment where there is open feedback is extremely important. Honestly, to me, is one of the values, one of my personal values that I try to communicate to the team. So obviously my door is always open. Right now, my Microsoft Teams is always open, and it's very important that you understand also things that you have not done in the right way to improve yourself. So I think that to retain people, you really need to create the environment where they can express themselves, that they can feel that they can give their opinion. Their opinion is value, and give them the space to make a mistake, because everybody is making mistake. Obviously, sometimes I hear people saying I make a mistake every day. No, I don't make a mistake every day, because otherwise I would not be here. But obviously we make mistakes, and give them this possibility, make them feel trusted, make them give them the space to fail, but at the same time make sure that they are enthusiastic and support you in the bigger scheme of things and where the company is going. That's I think is a good recipe for retention. And listen. Sometimes I know I have to improve myself, because as an Italian, sometimes I tend to speak too much and not to give space to the others. So that's one thing I learned throughout my career, because listening is extremely important, because sometimes you have solution just listening to your team and then implementing them.
Mm-hmm. No, it's so true. I mean, and I think one of the things you mentioned there, you mentioned your door was open, but at the moment your team's room is open. And I mean, clearly it's been a challenge for anybody, either as a manager or being managed. The whole communication side of things has changed quite dramatically because of what we've all been through. I mean, how have you found that? Because in terms of a manager, you've got to coming back to the learning side of things. It's learning a different approach, different way of doing things, and trying to get the most out of your team and keep them inspired. So, is there any sort of flashes of inspiration you can give some network in terms of, things you've learned about managing people and getting the most out of people over this period?
Well, over this period is particularly challenging. I found myself at the beginning, to be more comfortable with the people I know more that I met in person, rather than the people that I met just on Microsoft Teams. And you need to learn that. You need to understand how to create a rapport, how to create a business, but also a personal relationship through a screen, which is definitely not easy. And that's why it's useful. You tend to do a little bit more social talking when you are in person, and you feel that when you talk through Teams, you feel you are in a more professional type of environment, so that you don't spend a little bit of time to ask people how they are. One of the things I always start asking the people, obviously not the one I see every day, but that I haven't seen, about how they are. Let's have and that shows interest in them. That shows interest in how they are doing, because it's obviously a difficult situation, this one. And that helps to create the rapport, because again, only with a direct and honest rapport, you can bring things forward. And above all, you can get a feedback, because people will not be keen in providing feedback to if they are not trusted, or they don't feel they are in a safe environment where they can express their idea. And not creating this environment, to me, is very limiting, because that's the idea killing environment if you don't make sure that people can express themselves. So I would say, ask how they are, make sure you have a genuine interest in the people, although you see them on screen, and that would help a lot to create the rapport, and that would make the business relationship easier, and I said, more proficient.
No, again, it's another challenge that we've been through, and I think there's a lot of learnings to be had from it, and with a bit of luck, by this time next year, we're back to some kind of normality again. But I remember saying that to someone on the podcast 6 months ago, and it's still not quite there, but it's going in the right direction. And I think, obviously, I know earlier on we were talking a bit about people and cultural fit, and that being a really key part of the majority of hires these days. But when I started in finance recruitment 21 years ago, it wasn't always like that. Very often there was probably more than half of the positions I recruited for at the time. If a company was looking for an accountant or a controller, it was a role where you were doing numbers, and your exposure to being a business partner was very limited. Whereas now it's almost the opposite. It's very rare for any finance position, maybe unless you're in a shared service center. Most of the other roles, you've got to be have elements of being a business partner, or the potential to do it. And linked into this, I mean, the reason for I'm going down this route is one of the biggest challenges I think we've got at the moment is the impact of BI and data becoming more and more part of our lives, both at work and in business. And it's obviously going to have a big impact on the finance discipline and the people within it, and their roles within it. So I thought, given that I'm speaking to an expert in risk and compliance and control, I thought it'd be good to ask you this question really around what you feel the impact is going to be on the finance discipline, both for the actual, maybe the actual roles that are being done, but also the personality types, and if that will change, do you think?
No, I think you nailed exactly the point, Paul. I mean, finance, when I started off in IBM, was about crunching number. Now you are really a business partner, because you need to interpret data. You need to make sure you can put together more difficult clues, and you can give an interpretation. We obviously use in our department business analytics. We have continuous monitoring. We are studying. We are working with the ETH right now into the project, which now is slowed down a little bit because we have a big SAP implementation, but it's around human in the loop, artificial intelligence, and how we can use predictive modeling to understand the risk profile, the evolution of the risk profile of our company, right? So obviously the studies are there. We are investing quite significantly in our analytics infrastructure, and to make sure that we do activities in an automated manner to drive down the cost. So the impact is going to be the following. I say there's going to be obviously a lot of manual activity are going to disappear, like activities in terms of maybe, I don't know, posting an accrual or doing a reconciliation. If before, I remember when I was a young accountant, I was doing it manually. In the future, those tasks will be done by a routine or RPA or artificial intelligence. But obviously, there's not going to be any more an individual typing and keying in a manual entry. At the same time, we are seeing two skills developing. So one skill obviously is the technical people that actually understand the business and understand the programming, understanding artificial intelligence and RPAs, and then can put things together. Because obviously there is not one fit all. You need to find the right analytics for your business. And so having somebody who understands that and can develop analytical procedure specific for your business, creating a competitive advantage, this is one of the skills that is going to be definitely very, very important in the future. At the same time, the other skill that is going to be very critical is understanding complex clues, is understand complex data, because artificial intelligence has not, or let's say, the power to interpret all the data that you are seeing. Still, the human brain can put together more difficult clues, more difficult situation, understanding also the culture to make sure that something is brought at the right level and that is accepted. So this the interpretation of the clues that the data are going to give you. I'm really bringing it into the company and to the culture of the company and make sure you drive action from this complex clue. That's going to be the other skill that I see it happening. So, I mean, don't be discouraged, guys. Of course, your work is not going to be posting a manual entry anymore. But to me, this honestly open up certain rule that would really allow, the people that are passionate about this, that wants to spend time understanding clue, that can bring value added by really creating new ideas or new way of doing things based on the data. That's going to be one of the critical skills that comes in the future. Then the third one that I would mention is communication. Because obviously the time of people, you see right now, we have Instagram that, the attention span is 3 seconds. So the younger generation, and I see myself already, I have a very limited time to discuss about things, and making sure I understand the problem and decide about it. So the ability to communicate according to the data, in a very effective manner, giving to the point, usually is going to be, talking to the point, crisp, and giving the right element to management to take a decision. That's going to be another critical skill that never, ever artificial intelligence or RPA will be able to substitute.
No, it's really interesting. I think the final point you've made there, I think it's going to be the biggest challenge when it comes to people, because I think the younger generation now, I mean, this is very stereotypical thing to say, but most of the younger generation are not, when it comes to communication, they will prefer to go on to something like email or WhatsApp or so on to communicate that way than to actually, be on the telephone or be in a room with somebody and deal with any issues that are arising. And so you have on one side the technology moving the younger generation away from communicating with people, but then on the other side of things, you have the technology really needing that skill as a key thing, because if you haven't got that communication skill or don't have the desire to improve in that way, then this isn't just in finance. I think this is across disciplines in general. It's going to be very difficult. And that's the area where, I mean, maybe fortunately for a recruiter, that's going to be the area where we're going to see our biggest needs with clients, is that the communication side, because people are going to be more than happy to do online courses to learn about BI and data, but the communication side is a harder one to develop, and not, maybe there's only going to be a handful of people that are going to have that skill, and there's going to be maybe a high commodity in demand, I would imagine.
I cannot agree more. I mean, really making sure. I mean, I get 1 hour a month with my CEO, right? And in that 1 hour, I need to be able to communicate what the department or roughly 100 people is doing, right? And the project and everything. So organizing that communication, and maybe sometimes I need to also ask him money to do our project and everything. It's not, yeah. I mean, there is this aspect as well. I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy, and that cannot be presented showing an empty slide or some data that gets. Because also the decision for investment is not just based on data, but also based on people. Do we have the right people to execute? As the management, the right enthusiasm, the right drive to execute and drive complex project? Because, I mean, it's all about people. It's all about people. It's a project that delivered by people. They are not delivered by a machine. The enthusiasm of making people belonging to a certain company or drive a certain objective, that's creating, as we said before, the right environment for people to succeed. That's not what a machine can do, or what a good analytics can predict. Nonetheless, obviously, we need analytics to make more conscious decision, more savvy decision, more better supporting our ideas with management. But again, ideas and the new ways of doing things cannot be communicated just with some numbers. They need the person who is passionate and enthusiastic about what has to be done.
No, true. And I think you obviously mentioned about people understanding and communicating. And I know we started the podcast with let's say, a fairly unusual question. So I thought it'd be good to finish the podcast with a relatively unusual question as well, and to get to know you a little bit more as a person. So I was wondering if you had any hidden talents, or at least the ones you'd be prepared to share with the network at all, Marco.
Oh yeah, I can share my passion. I can drive the motorbike very well.
Okay, cool.
and I like to think that I can play bass guitar well, but I'm a disaster. Otherwise, probably I would. If I was playing well bass guitar, I wouldn't be here. No, but I'm passionate about music. Music that is played. I go to concerts. That's my favorite entertainment here in Zurich. I'm talking from Zurich. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities to see band live, and I'm always amazed about the creativity of these people, and I really admire them, because I can't do that. I really can't do that, and I wonder how they can come with new lyrics and new song, and that's creativity. That's what amazes me as well. Which doesn't mean I have it. But I like music-wise. But I think to be creative in the business environment, it's always important, because again, the world changes so fast, and we need to get to anticipate things. So creativity, I think, is one of the skills that is going to be extremely important for the future.
I mean, any particular bands that you particularly like? I know you mentioned you play bass guitar, so I guess some of the bands you follow are more the guitar-based bands, are they? The particular ones that you like?
Yes, I really like Led Zeppelin, although it's not really bass, but maybe it's a little bit old for the audience. But to me, really, band like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, really created the background for the music that we have today, created the bases, created something different at the time. And guys, I have to tell you a secret. I also like punk rock and the Clash. So again, but everyone,
that's what we're looking for. This secret that's in there. That's so. If any of your team listen to this, they know what to get you for Christmas now.
Absolutely. I like punk rock because it comes from a movement of the young people changing the world. That's where it comes from, protesting, and I really like it. And the music was good.
No, excellent. Well, I can't think of a better way to sign off the podcast. Really, I feel like it's been great to speak to you today.
Likewise,
I think to learn about the learning experience you've had through your career. Where you push yourself in certain areas. The future, what you see as the future of the finance discipline, and the importance of people, the recruiting and developing them in the right way has been really, really interesting. I know the network will take a lot from it. So if there's a way the network can reach out to you? What's the best way they can connect
Yeah, I
with you?
mean, I'm on social media, on LinkedIn, Hitachi Energy website. LinkedIn are the best way to reach me. I promise you guys, I will answer to your email. That's a promise, because I'm sure there are some hidden gems out there that just need to get in touch. And that's why
I can sense a LinkedIn clash group being formed by you. That's I'm going to keep my eyes open.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. No, thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope that the people out there can get some ideas, and they can get really the perseverance to succeed in this difficult environment. All the best, guys.
Thank you very much, Mark. I really appreciate your time. All the best.
Likewise.
To you, and have a good rest of the week.
Cheers. Likewise. Bye, everybody.
Bye.